So yeah, you can talk about more sophisticated things around. We are very big on something called cohort analysis, right? And this is something that I think if people have used Google Analytics or things like that over time, they kind of popularize cohort analysis. And the idea there is you can split up your customer base over time. So let's say you want to take all the people that bought in January of 23, and you just want to, and let's say there were 1,000 people that were new to brand in January 23. And you want to track them over time. So anytime one of those 1,000 people buy again, some of them might buy 1 month, some of them might wait 3 months to buy again, some of them might never buy again. You want to track that as a cohort to see what happens to them over time. What happens to just that cohort average, right? And maybe that's $20 after 3 months, right? The average of those 1,000 customers is going to be $20 over 3 months. But then the power of this is that you can compare that to another cohort. Let's say people who were new to brand in February, 1 month later, right? They just converted for the first time in February. And you do the exact same analysis there. But now you notice that this cohort is actually only worth $15 after 3 months. That's $5 less than the January cohort at the same point in time, right? At the 3 month mark. Now, why is that? What happened? Are they less loyal? Are there just fewer people coming back and buying again? Is it because you gave massive discounts and therefore the lifetime value actually dropped? Remember, we're doing this on profit here, not on sales. And so you're starting off on a pretty bad footing if you've given a huge discount. They're obviously not going to be as profitable. So there could be various reasons. But what this actually starts doing is giving you a sense of what the evolution of your customer base, right? Are my older customers more or less loyal than my newer customers? Or if I made a price change, I increased or decreased the price, what actually happened? Did I get a whole lot more new to brand customers? Are they more or less loyal, right? And so it's actually a very powerful analysis for, it's quite hard to do this, I guess, without like a visual, because it's very visual to see how this whole thing works. But the takeaway, I guess, is, a lifetime value in and of itself. If I had to just say to you, hey, Nick, did you know that for your brand, the lifetime value is $100? That is not that useful to you. Like, what are you meant to do with that? Does that mean, okay, you can spend $100 to acquire a customer, but you might wait 5 years for that to break even, right? It's not, and in which case it's not that useful. And so when we talk about LTV, we should always be talking about an associated time frame, right? It's your 3 month lifetime value. It's your 12-month lifetime value, right? Because it's just much more useful to know what that progression looks like. And then secondly, we're always talking about what are the trends in that customer base, right? Is that LTV increasing or decreasing, right? According to this cohort analysis, are my newer customers more or less valuable than my older customers? Or we've had people make a change in their account. So for instance, they've embarked on some remarketing campaign, or they've made a price change, or they're doing some coupons, or I don't know, Prime Day, or, all that whole thing. How do you actually measure the effects of these things? You need a cohort analysis to do that, because you need to say these people were exposed to some sort of change, right? I increased my price. Now, what actually happens? I need to track, 3 months, 6 months down the line to see what happens and compare that to the older cohorts to see whether actually this has worked. And what we've worked with a lot of our customers has been on specifically pricing, right? We've actually said, well, you've actually got a bit of room here to increase your price. And we've noticed that there's not really much of a trade-off in terms of new to brand customers. Obviously, their lifetime value is increased, right? Because you've increased your price, your margins are better, right? It's profit per customer, all that sort of stuff. And your customer retention rate, we can talk about what that is, but your customer retention rate doesn't suffer either, right? It doesn't really affect the number of people coming back and buying again. So I know I've spoken a lot about a real deep dive into all of this stuff, but yeah.
So, okay. So let's unpack a few things. So first of all, as far as the length of time, is you are defining 3 month lifetime value, 6 month lifetime. Yes. So you are measuring them separately. That means you're looking at the kind of time frame that number is associated with.
Yes.
Is that if you are measuring 3 month lifetime value, is that 3 month shifting all the time, or is it just from the first purchase?
Well, if you're doing a cohort analysis, that's always going to be from the first purchase. So, as I say, we can roll it all up into some big average for the whole brand over 2 years sort of thing, which is useful, I guess. But if you really want to know what actions to take and you need to drill down. So we would always say it's a 3-month LTV from the first purchase date, because that's what the cohort analysis will do. And what another big thing we're measuring is, what happens to this the 3-month, let's say, what happens to the 3-month LTV, right? For the January cohort, it was $20. For the February cohort, it was $15. For the March cohort, it's gone back up to $22, right? And so, like, you're actually seeing the trends in this lifetime value, and you're mapping that against what changes you made in the account to see what the effects are. I mean,